Good morning and welcome to Coffee Ann, the longest running panel discussion show in American radio. To make a comment or ask a question of the panel, call 401-766-1240 or email coffee@woonsockеtradio.com. And now, let's join the Coffee Ann panel.
Good morning to you. It is Coffee Ann time here on ON, AM, and FM. Thanks for joining us. My name's Joe Callahan. And across the table from me, the Coffee Ann table, there's attorney Bob Lauder. Good morning to you, Bob.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
Good to have you here with us as well. And we'll be joined by Sue Tessier-McKenzie from the Blackstone Valley Call-in-Time. She'll be joining us when she gets here.
What kind of great outfit do you think she'll have on today?
I don't know. It's always different, so I don't know.
Yeah, it always looks good.
I don't pick them out, so there you go. So, as we jump into the things, glad you're here. We got a good question for you, Bob.
Oh no!
Right off the bat, because it's in the news. And the Cumberland Police arrested a 66-year-old man from Pawtucket. He's allegedly approaching people on the bike path that's along the Blackstone River, jumping out. He's not wearing anything.
66 years old?
Yes.
Come on, guy.
Slightly younger than you.
Grow up. Jeez.
Grow up. Well, we don't know if there's a mental issue going on here or what. So he's been charged with indecent exposure, disorderly conduct, and I don't know how they found this out, but possession of child pornography as well. So there's a lot going on with this guy.
Okay, a lot better things are going on now because Sue has walked in with a fantastic outfit again.
Thank you.
Wow.
Good morning.
How are you, Sue? Doing all right? Okay, good. Thumbs up. Thumbs up.
Tell us what you got. It's black with
That's blue.
Yes.
Oh, the sweater is blue. But I meant the under the blouse part and the jewelry.
An array of animal prints.
Oh,
There you go.
An array of animal prints. It's not just one or the other.
uh-huh.
So the question to you, Bob.
Yes.
We're talking about the man, Sue, that was arrested for indecent exposure on the bike path
Yeah.
down in Cumberland.
Oh, forgot.
Seems he's been doing this for a little while. They finally caught him. The charge of indecent exposure, is that a misdemeanor? Is that a felony? And do you get jail time for this, or is it more just a fine and stop doing that?
Well, you know how great I am with criminal law.
I know,
but I would suspect that at the beginning it's a misdemeanor.
Okay.
Misdemeanor is any crime that's punishable by not more than a year in jail and or not more than I've forgotten the fine. It's a small amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
Does it make a difference, though, if they're a minor or an adult that they exposed to?
Probably does. Yeah. But
from what I've read, it's mostly women. It's adults that.
Oh, I'm sure it is,
Jump
but
on the
like
bike path,
like you
right.
say, different cases. Would that misdemeanor be elevated if it were a child?
I'm going to go back to law school and pay more attention to the criminal law section.
Well, I don't know.
Just so you can answer questions to Joe.
I just don't
Nobody
know.
has asked me questions about estate planning or real estate. No, it's always.
Well, no one's naked when they're doing their estate planning, are they?
Right?
No, thank
Well,
goodness.
there you go.
No.
Now, was he walking or riding a bike? Because,
No riding a
that
bike.
could be, that would, no.
More like he's hanging out in the woods, and looking down.
Hanging out, no pun
No
intended.
pun intended is right. But looking up the bike path to see who's coming. Boy, Sue cracks herself up. See who's coming down the bike path, and here I am, kind of thing.
Wow.
And so, naturally, it's going to upset some people, and to the point where they call the police. You got to come down, naked man on the bike path. You really should come down and take care of this guy. So,
All right.
it doesn't look like he's assaulting anybody. He's not trying to touch anybody like that. So that would be another charge.
66 years. I think he's past his
66.
prime for doing this.
Well, when is the prime to do this, Bob?
Well,
I get what you're saying, Bob.
what's your next question?
Oh, I have another question. Okay, so we got so the indecent exposure, the disorderly conduct. They must have gone to his house because where does the possession of the child pornography come from? And that just unless it's on his phone, which is.
Well, he doesn't
But he had
carry
no
his phone.
pockets.
But you're gonna think that over in the woods, that's where the stuff
He
is.
has clothes.
So you can put the clothes back on to get back home. Because he's planning this out because he's from Pawtucket, and he's making his way to the Cumberland Lincoln area of the bike path. So that's a long walk.
Yeah.
So it means he's gonna be. So he's leaving wherever he lives. He's got to be dressed then, driving over, and then disrobing in the bushes.
Wow.
I'm just making.
Wow.
If you want to see
It's
there's-
all-
No, I do not want to
there's a
see
picture.
anything.
Here's a picture.
No.
This is a picture of it's his mugshot.
Just
it's on,
the same.
It's on
No, it's
Channel
not.
12's
Yeah, it's
on Channel
just
12. It's just his head, Bob.
just his face.
It's on Channel 12's website. He's approaching women on the bike path. They always say fully nude. Positively identifies person who called police and taken into custody. He's been doing this for a while. All right. According to police, Thomas Belanger is believed to be involved in several similar incidents in Cumberland and Lincoln over the past several weeks. So maybe he's making his appearance and then leaving because people complain. And when they get there, he's gone. So they see this is happening.
We got to get a better story, man.
Better story than that? Oh,
Yeah.
to talk about.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay. They did talk to one woman, quote, Sherry Stabile, who's from Woonsocket. She was walking on the bike path back in June. So here we are, September, so it's 4
Yeah.
months later. He said, this is the guy that exposed himself to her. She says it was a traumatic experience. I looked up and the man came walking out of the woods. Stabile said she freaked out, turned away, then called the police. At the same time, he drove by me on a bike. Oh, he does have a bicycle, Sue.
Did he have clothes on then? Because
On the bike, probably not.
Need I say more about?
Hey, winter is coming. This will all be resolved, in January.
It was it was specific. Stabile said of the bike. He's always got trash bags on it, and his water bottle is on there. Here's a picture of the bike with the trash bags.
No, I don't need that either.
All right. They go on. The police talk about the bike path should be a place for community members and families, and they shouldn't have to worry about this kind of thing. Stabile wants other women who have had this similar experience to know they're not alone. Got to speak up so we can stop this kind of thing. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Cumberland police and see if they can give them more information.
You know what's concerning is they have these bike paths. They're all over the place for safety, so people aren't riding their bike in the roads
streets,
and all
yeah.
of this. And then I would never go walking on the bike path by myself. That's been for years. And I'm not a scared person because, not for nothing, I can pretty much hold my own. But why put yourself in a position like that?
But how many,
personally? But
how many women do you see walking along?
that's
or
my
biking
point.
along?
That's so,
common.
concerning that
Yeah.
these women are out there doing what they think is safe.
Mm-hmm.
Being in an area for walking and biking, period.
Yeah.
And then that kind of stuff happens. I find it very concerning that it takes away your safety, your feeling of safety.
I haven't heard about it lately, but it pops up every now and again, and you hear about women that are running along the Charles River
Yep.
in Boston, and they get attacked on the Charles River. Well, they're running at 3 a.m.
Wow.
And then they ask, well, why are you running this time? Well, between school and work and
Yeah.
the kids, and this is their only time to exercise. And I'm like, I get it, but you're putting yourself in harm's way. Do you not understand that?
Right. But walking the bike path at 10 o'clock in the morning is not putting yourself in harm's
Well,
way.
that's right.
And
Yeah.
that's what makes it concerning. I mean, I think it's concerning to go out at 3 in the morning to. I used to, when I did my limos, I was out at all hours, day and night.
But you're in a vehicle.
So,
yeah.
right, but when I had to stop and wait for the customer, when I had,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
it's all about safety, always having to watch your surroundings. But again, the bike path is supposed to be a safe place to be
Yep.
with other people, like-minded people that are just there to walk, get exercise, run, bike, whatever. And you should not have to be that concerned about a naked man jumping out of the woods.
That should not be. You're right. That should not be a concern. But I've been on bike paths before, middle of the day, on a bike going down, and I've seen women on rollerblades, which is also perfectly fine to be on the bike path, coming
Yeah.
towards me in the middle of the summer, and it amazes me what they're not wearing.
Oh, especially if you
Like-
fall.
I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, the T-shirt is rolled up as
Yep.
far as it can go. The shorts are rolled down as far as they can go. I guess they're trying to get as much sun on their skin as possible. I'm like,
Maybe.
wow, you're really. and maybe I'm getting old.
Some of
They
us are
really
lucky
shouldn't
we're
be doing
indolent.
that.
We're not up at 3 a.m. doing any kind of
not at 3 in the
exercises.
morning.
We're not out on the bike path doing exercises. We're just
Okay. That's
sedentary
sleeping
at
time.
home.
You're trying
doing
to
nothing.
sleep and so you can make it through the next day. Let's
All right.
face it.
So, well, this guy's off the bike path down there in Cumberland, Lincoln, so it's safe for now. So there you go. All right. Other things going on. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, Bob, and it looks like the CEO of Stewart Healthcare now he could be looking at some prison time
Why is that?
for ignoring a congressional subpoena.
Oh,
Have
all
you,
right.
Have you heard about this? The U.S.
No.
Senate has voted unanimously to refer a contempt of Congress charge to the Justice Department for prosecution. Now, the head of the bankrupt hospital chain has been accused of paying himself and other top executives excessive compensation as the company was going bankrupt. I don't know if that's anything illegal, though. It's not nice.
I have no idea, but with regard to the congressional subpoena,
Yeah.
I would have thought a more practical solution would have been for him to go and plead the Fifth Amendment to any questions he was asked other than his name, and fulfill the subpoena, but not have to testify in any way that would incriminate himself.
If convicted of contempt, De La Torre could be sentenced to up to a year in federal prison.
Okay.
But I'm trying to think back to the information that we had a couple of weeks ago. He was told not to, by his lawyers, told not to testify. And then the subpoena comes, and so he's going on, lawyers' directive.
Okay,
That's not good advice. I don't
that
know.
would
I
probably
might
not
have it
been the
completely wrong
advice
here.
I would have provided to him. I
Okay.
think that it would be better to fulfill the subpoena and not answer any of the questions that could be used against you, where the answers could be incriminating.
Yeah.
No.
All right, so that's the deal there. Nothing, no time limit on when this is going to come. So now, of course, we had the big story about the Bulls down there at Emerald Square Mall.
Yeah.
Of course, it's all we all laugh about it because none of us were there,
Right.
in any danger.
Did you? You must have seen the video where they're
yes.
running, they leaping over the fence. That's
Well,
amazing.
They
These guys.
tried to leap over the fence.
All right.
They ended up
And
just taking it down.
They just knocked it because you're 2,000 pounds. You're not getting very good height here.
Right.
So you're crashing through the fence, and now the people that are running the rodeo, they're blaming they're blaming basically the fence.
Okay.
Right, but was that the fence they're blaming? Because that is not the one that was pictured on TV.
They're blaming a faulty fence pin.
Right, but the
Okay.
picture was not that fence. That wouldn't be technically considered a fence.
No, it looked very.
That's a blocking. That
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that the rodeo was taking place where you see the rides,
the rides yeah,
when they do the carnival.
Carnivals come over there.
The
yes.
Tents and such that you saw in the videos were every weekend they have like a vendor fair.
All right.
So and they're right there in the parking lot and they sell their wares, whatever. But that is I don't know what it's called, but that blocked them. I don't think that's the one they're blaming.
Okay.
Because pin or no pin, that thing came down. That
Oh,
had
yeah,
not,
oh, yeah.
It was the other fence
The
that
bulls-
they
the bulls
showed
getting
in the
through.
picture. One of the bulls, it said one of the bulls fell on the other bull pushing the fence. Whose fence was it?
Right. I don't know.
You know what I mean?
Have they captured the last one of them?
Yes, they
Yes.
did. Yeah,
Oh, they did?
They got
Oh.
them all. So yeah,
Okay.
all bulls are fine and all people are fine. So
Okay.
there's no. Although the bull did take a charge at some guy, the last bull, he didn't want to he didn't want to go back. So, but he was probably scared, And
Well,
like
of
that.
course.
Exercising his domain. That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
So the people that the town council in North Attleboro, of course, they're not amused. They're not laughing at all about
Oh,
this.
God, no.
So they wanted answers. So the rodeo organizers met with them, and they had to get together. We got to come up with an answer. They're going to ask us what went wrong here.
What happened?
So they went with the faulty pin.
Yeah, bull
excuse.
fell on the other bull, but
Yeah.
I think it was I think it was their own fencing. It is
Yeah. So
because I didn't see that kind of fencing that showed in the
Yeah.
picture is
But I don't-
nowhere in that area.
but faulty pin or not, if if that fence was working perfectly, and that first bull charged right into it, it's going to knock the fence down anyway.
Of
so
course.
they've got to come up with a better.
Yeah, that's not a good excuse.
What started the bulls running? Did something spook it? Was it
Right.
human error? Was it people there? Did someone honk a horn out on Route 1? They said this was it, and then it started them running? I don't have any
knows?
of these answers.
Maybe the bulls just said, "Hey, let's have
We're
a
out.
romp, have
Hey,
a
we're
great
outside.
day."
Let's go. You know, I'm hearing the pretzels at Auntie Anne's at Emerald Square are really good.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go get some.
I remember driving by a farm one time where they had a bull out in the field, and there were cows there as well. There is no way I would have climbed over the fence to get into that field. That bull was taking care of his herd, and you didn't want to mess with him.
Oh no! Yeah. Look at the horns.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So they use them
Right?
for defense and for attacking. So. Yeah, things you got to think of like that. All right, we're going to take our first break here on the Coffee and program. More coming your way. You can call in your comments or questions at 766-1240.
The Coffee and panel is enjoying coffee from Down East Coffee Roasters. All their coffee is roasted right here in Rhode Island. Down East Coffee Roasters is available at all Little General stores.
Have you heard of Scott McGee with Remax Properties? He's been selling real estate in Rhode Island and Massachusetts for the last 17 years, and you can see that he loves what he does. Scott, as well as his team, take pride in what they call the fair and honest team. No gimmicks. And no, they're not buying your house if it doesn't sell, etc. Just fair and honest real estate. Scott personally works with tons of sellers and buyers and specializes in residential properties as well as commercial, and he's always very fair and offers super competitive rates. Remember, this is probably the biggest move in dollars that you will ever spend or receive. You want to go with a trusted and experienced agent. Scott is fair, honest, and modest, always puts the clients first. And he also dealt with literally almost any situation. You really need to look at your real estate needs as a business. You want to pay and get the right money now so that you're not paying for it later. Trust me. So why not give Scott McGee a call at 401-639-2906. That's 401-639-2906.
It's Coffee and here on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us. I'm Joe Callahan here with Bob Lauder and Sue Tessier-McKenzie from the Blackstone Valley Call-in-Times. And Sue, it is time for a first message from the newspaper.
Well, good morning. So we've been talking about the voting for the best in the Blackstone Valley. The votes have all been tabulated. As of yesterday, we finally have the winners. So I will be in touch with you coming in the next few days as soon as possible, because there are many, many people that I need to be in touch with. However, if you have a question, and others have already called me, if you have a question, if you are in the top three, by all means, feel free to reach out. Give me a call, 487-4136. Also, if you're looking for delivery of the newspaper, you can call me at call Christina, 767-8503, and she will forward your call to the proper person in charge.
All right there, Sue. All right, Bob, put your lawyer hat back on again. So
Whoa.
I read a story yesterday. There's a state representative down in Westerly.
Okay.
And their son pleaded nolo contendere to a sexual assault charge. Now, the man is now 21, but this assault took place when he was 18.
Okay.
Because when he was 18, he was with a 14-year-old girl. And I guess they did some stuff together. And I don't know, it was supposedly consensual at the beginning. And but there's that adult child thing going on here. So he pleaded nolo to the charge of the assault. So he's got to be he's got to register as a sex offender. He's got to stay away from the child who's still a child now, and I forgot some other stuff he's got to do. But it also said, because of the way he pleaded, they said in 5 years, if he stays out of trouble, the whole thing can be erased from his record. Does that sound correct? That can be done?
It's depending on the nature of the crime. You can always go into, if it's a first offense, and it does not involve some type of bodily injury. I believe there's a statute that says that after 5 years, if it's a misdemeanor, or 10 years if it's a felony, you can make an application to the court for an expungement of your record. We've done that in the past years ago when I did criminal cases. And the Attorney General's office becomes involved. You have to notify the Attorney General. They can come in and defend on your application for expungement. And if the court feels that the crime was significant, but no one was injured, you've been 10 years without getting in trouble, you're showing good character, then the court can expunge your record. So it may very well be the same with that situation.
Okay. Does that include coming off the sex registry list?
That I do not know. The expunging cases that I did in the past did not involve sexual offenses.
Oh, okay. I just wonder if it stays with him for the rest of his life.
I don't know.
Okay.
You know, man, it's amazing that anybody calls my office after I show up on this show. I mean,
Well, I keep asking
I'm
you
a-
criminal questions, Bob.
I seem to be the biggest dummy you have.
Can you make out a will for me, Bob?
Yeah, I can do
Oh,
that.
see, he knows what he's
Okay.
doing there. Okay, okay. Can you film it for me too? Can we put it on video?
Years ago, when we had a couple of cases that we thought might end up in a challenge, we did that.
Oh, well, smart. Okay, that's cool. Okay, you see that in the movies all the time and stuff like that. And
Yeah, right. Where they record
Yeah,
themselves, what they.
reading their own will,
Yeah.
so they
Oh,
can
goody.
say, okay, cousin Jerry gets, you get nothing.
Inevitably,
Do
you
not
always have
write
that.
your own will.
You
Go
always-
to a lawyer.
Well, it's always given under the guise of
Of a lawyer.
The lawyer is filming it.
Oh.
So it's already written out the way it's supposed to be written out, and now I'm just going to read it.
Okay.
And we'll skip all the sound, mind, and body stuff.
Right,
Let's-
right,
let's-
right.
We'll get right down to who gets what and who gets nothing.
And inevitably, somebody's not happy.
Yes. Have you ever seen the movie Knives Out?
No.
No.
What's that one?
It's something similar to this, and you need it's a mystery to try to figure out. And there's a sequel to it as well. It's good. It's tough to figure out, but it's got to do with that. And of course, the family members get all mad at each other,
course.
and oh, we're gonna contest this, and that should be mine, and this should be mine, and like that. So
Yeah.
it's all good fighting like that.
Okay.
It's right up your alley, Bob.
Good. Good.
It's called Knives Out. Jamie Lee Curtis is in it. So, and
I'll have
she's
to look
good.
that one up.
Okay, very good.
I haven't watched a movie since sound was developed, so,
Yeah. Why is that?
I'm just exaggerating.
Some pretty good movies
He's-
have been made since sound came to the movies. Wizard of Oz comes to mind right away.
Okay, yeah. I'll work up to that one.
All right. Well, the story just keeps popping up, and I'm not sure why, but they found those human remains in Barrington.
Yes.
Okay, they're old.
Right.
They're 75 to 100 years old, so it's no one that was just killed like a couple of years ago. And it turns out the house was built on an old cemetery. So they were
Okay,
doing.
that's unusual.
Well,
Right, because that initially shouldn't have happened. Because
yes, but you go back to it was originally built
then.
in 1949 when they built the house on this land. So now they're doing some work out there, and they start digging, and that's when they come up with the skeletal remains. They
Is
still
it skeletal remains of just one individual or multiple?
so far just one.
All right.
At first they didn't know, is this a human or is it some other animal?
Right.
So they had to determine that, and they did determine. Okay, it's definitely human. They still haven't said male or female.
All right.
Oh, they said they dated it, and they said it's 70. The remains are 75 to 100 years old, so it's been there quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. A whole lot of questions arise with that one.
Yeah, right.
It's consistent with a historical burial ground. So I don't know if they didn't bury people in coffins sometimes. I don't know.
But then again, wouldn't the wood after that?
Deteriorate?
Yeah, that.
Yeah, I
I couldn't
guess.
think of the word. So for those
Break down.
for those listening to radio,
Well, I think one of the things they do is try to do a title search on the property to find out who were the owners at approximately the same time that they believe the internment took place.
I did read that yesterday that it was built in 1949. But how many? They could have 3 or 4 owners since then.
Oh, it's not the since then part. It's if you're saying the
So, right,
remains have been there for
75.
75 to 100 years. Well, 75 years ago was 1949. But who owned the property
Then?
beyond then and beyond that backwards to see if there was any likelihood that it was a a resident or a relation of a resident to the owner. Interesting.
So I don't know. So, but they'll be looking into that. So, I'm just interested to find out if is it a male or a female.
And it's an adult.
No, they haven't said.
No,
Right.
they haven't.
I'm thinking back of all the stories, and no, they just say human skeletal remains,
Okay.
and they leave it at that. And they want to know initially how old they were. So is it anybody? Do we have new missing person cases that we could try to attach it to? But it looks like it's not a missing person case, and it's just someone that passed away 75 to 100 years ago, and it just was buried there.
I would doubt that it's any kind of a noted historic cemetery because most of the historic cemeteries that I'm aware of, they've been identified, and if you want to acquire the land, you have some serious elements of responsibility on that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see what goes there. Now, back to Bob and another good lawyer question here.
But he looked at
Any
me.
newspaper questions in the world?
No,
Hasn't
they're all right.
Perry White come up with...
Perry
with-
White.
We're boring.
Superman. All right. This deals with Karen Reed's defense up there
Yes.
in Massachusetts. Her team filed a 77-page brief. Doesn't sound brief to me, Sue.
No.
Okay.
But it's a brief is just another word for what, Bob? What's another word for brief?
It's an argument that you make to the court that usually is based on precedent. You say, okay, the reason that we believe this should not be, we believe this particular issue should be brought before the court is based on X, Y, and Z cases. And in X, Y, and Z
Okay.
cases, with similar fact situations, the judges found in favor of our kind of client. And so you usually have a lot of precedent attached to it.
That's why it's so 77 pages on this
Right.
one.
Yeah.
Okay, so they filed it yesterday with the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court, and they're arguing a second trial of Karen Reed would be unconstitutional double jeopardy.
Okay.
Do you see it that way?
No,
Because
I
the
don't.
first one resulted
Because
in the hung jury.
The hung jury, if the jury said we cannot make a decision on this case, then the prosecution has the right to say, okay, we have a new shot at a trial. It's not double jeopardy. It's not that the jury said you're not guilty and we're coming in with another, trying to nail you again, where the jury has made a decision. Here the jury said, we can't make a decision. Some of us feel one way, some of us feel another way. There's no decision. Fine, you're allowed to have a second trial. In fact, that's one of the commercials I'm going to be talking about, but it's not on the Karen Reed case.
But
Okay.
they also, the jury had also said she was not guilty on a couple of counts, but I guess they couldn't say it.
Well,
They were
weren't
trying to. They
Yeah.
weren't asked. It was something else. So whatever charges,
And I think that's what the defense is going with, Bob.
yeah.
They're going to, and part of this 77 pages might be, look, here is the votes by the jury to acquit her of
Right.
the murder charge. So then,
But-
would it be double jeopardy then?
The jury apparently, when they had the jury instructions, the court would have been saying to them, okay, this is the charge that's made against Miss Reed. In order to substantiate this charge, you have to find X, Y, and Z, that Miss Reed did this, Miss Reed did that. If the jury comes back and says, in court, we can't agree whether or not she did it. Some of us think she did, some of us think she did not. That's not a conviction. That's a hung jury. That's not an acquittal either. They're saying we can't decide, and the prosecution has the right to have another trial and say, okay, let's bring in another jury and see if another jury, faced with these same facts and these same kind of instructions, finds her guilty or acquits her and finds her not guilty.
Okay.
That's perfectly legitimate. Yeah.
Well,
But the issue is still the fact that there were more than one charge. There was more than one charge. Three. And two out of the three, I believe it was,
they was for
they
acquittal.
were, yeah.
The third charge was the hung jury part.
Right. But the judge wouldn't take
Allow
into
it?
consideration the first two.
Yeah.
Well, the first two, if the judge has said, okay, she's acquitted on this, the jury has said, we believe that she's not guilty on the first two charges, that's fine. Those are gone. But the third charge, where the jury said, we cannot decide, then they can have a new trial on that.
On that last
On that
one.
last
but
one,
that's not what
yes.
it sounds
But that's
like,
not what
Joe.
they're doing.
That's not what that's
it's
what
a
I thought.
whole retrial of
A
the
whole
thing,
retrial of the whole
of all the
thing. That's the
charges.
problem. I think that's where the brief comes into play.
Yeah. So, well, the defense team is trying everything they can to not even have this second trial.
Right.
And good for them for trying everything. But we'll see what the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court takes a look at after they read through the whole 77 pages, and then they'll render their decision at some point. So that's the latest in the Karen Reed trial that goes on and on.
Latest
and
and
on.
greatest.
There was another thing that happened yesterday, and it dealt with the Canton police and a Canton police officer who was accused of drinking on the job.
Yep.
And he's the brother of some guy, of another cop that owns the house where the murder took place. I'm like, wow, it just gets more and more convoluted.
Yeah, I was just you took the word right out of my mouth. Convoluted.
And just there's one thing after another with the Canton Police Department. It's just, they must be pulling their hair out up there.
Yeah.
What else is going to come down and happen to us?
Right, waiting for
know.
the other
I got to
shoe
read
to
up on the
drop.
Karen Reed case.
Oh, it's fascinating. That's going on. It's going to make a great movie.
Oh yeah,
Maybe you should watch it, Bob, when it comes out.
Good, good.
there will be sound.
Yeah,
There will be sound.
There will be
Wonderful.
sound. That's right. All right, it's time for a second message from the Blackstone Valley Call and Times. Are you ready, Sue?
I guess so.
Kind of, okay.
So again, we still have customers going to our old building.
Well, the sign's still there.
Yes, and as we discussed last week, historical reasons, we can't it's no longer our building. We cannot go and do anything with the call written on the old building. Now it becomes a destruction of property. So we cannot do that. We do have the office now at 154 Main Street across from City Hall. We have many people walking in now that, we didn't have before, couldn't find us, and so on. So we are at 154 Main Street. We have back issues of papers. If you're missing your delivery, by all means, give us a call, 487-4136, or you can call Christina at 767-8503.
All right, Sue, thanks. And right now, time for the forecast, which is being brought to you by Progressive Insurance.
Cloudy skies with a 60% chance of a shower, up to a quarter of an inch, maybe higher in a thunderstorm today, high of 67 degrees. Tonight, a 60% chance of showers and thunderstorms before 3 a.m., then just showers after, cloudy skies, overnight low of 59. Friday's weather, partly sunny skies, 74. Saturday, partly sunny and 72. Sunday, partly sunny and 70. Monday, partly sunny and 72. Tuesday, partly sunny and a high near 69. And on Wednesday, mostly cloudy skies, 67 chance of showers.
Outside the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Ave and Kennedy Street, where we have cloudy skies and 61 degrees. Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach with their easy-to-use mobile app. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com.
You know, when you're paying the right price for protection, you just know it. It's that warm, fuzzy, totally secure feeling, knowing that you're not only getting great coverage, but you're also not paying too much for it. And when it comes to your insurance, there's no one better at getting the right price for your protection than Allstate agents Kara and Celeste Benjamin, because they know when it comes to your bank account, every penny counts towards something bigger, something better. Like a nicer car, that home update you've been dreaming of, or a phone that's fresh out of the box. Those little or big things that we work so hard for. And Kara and Celeste Benjamin want to help you work a little less by getting you the coverage you need and the savings you deserve when you switch to Allstate. Contact Kara and Celeste Benjamin at the Benjamin Agency. One agency, 2 locations in North Smithfield and Bellingham. 765-5000 for a free quote today. Allstate, you're in good hands. And you're in good hands with Kara and Celeste Benjamin at the Benjamin Agency. Savings vary based on the average annual savings reported by new auto customers surveyed in 2019 who switched to Allstate.
Hey, it's ON Radio's Cruisin' Bruce Palmer, and I'd love to have you join me every Saturday for the Saturday Block Party. We start at 4 o'clock when I open up the ON Music Vault for you to pick whatever you want to hear or send to somebody special. Yes, the good old radio request days are back. Join me for the Saturday Block Party, Saturdays from 4 until 7 on ON Radio and streaming online at WoonsocketRadio.com.
It's Coffee In on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us. Joe Callahan with Sue Tessier McKenzie and Bob Lauder. Okay, Bob, maybe there's a little more information on the whole Karen Reed thing of what their lawyers are doing as they send up the brief up to the Supreme Judicial Court in Massachusetts. Now, they say that the jurors in a recent trial had decided to acquit her on charges of second-degree murder and leaving the scene of a crash. The defense says the jury was only deadlocked on a manslaughter charge, but the judge abruptly called a mistrial without consulting with their side. They argue that forcing a new trial over the death of her Boston cop boyfriend on the two charges would be double jeopardy. Do you see it that way? 'Cause that's what they're arguing.
If they were acquitted on a particular charge, I would think that having the trial again on that same charge would be double jeopardy. But in the case I'll discuss this morning, if she was convicted on a particular charge and they're going to have the trial again on that same charge, although it seems unusual, I don't believe that it's double jeopardy.
Okay. This segment of Coffee In is sponsored by the Law Office of Attorney Bob Lauder. So, Bob, let's hear your first message, please.
Thank you. Good morning. I'd like to ask you this morning about two recent Rhode Island Supreme Court cases, one of them a criminal case, and the second a civil medical malpractice case. The criminal case is known as State v. Mosley and began in August of 2014, 10 years ago, when a gunman entered a barber shop in East Providence and shot and killed one of the occupants. The defendant was implicated when another person testified that she had provided the gun to the defendant, drove the defendant to the scene, and watched the defendant take the loaded gun from the glove compartment of the car before entering the barbershop. Additional testimony was provided by two individuals who were in the barbershop and by the then-girlfriend of the defendant. At the trial, the defendant was charged with murder, conspiracy to murder, carrying a firearm without a license, discharging a firearm during a crime of violence, and obstructing justice. At the conclusion of the trial, the defendant was convicted of the carrying charge as well as discharge and obstruction charge, but the jury was deadlocked on the murder and conspiracy issues. The prosecution sought a new trial, and the trial justice granted a new trial on the murder and conspiracy issues as well as on the discharging of the firearm charge for which the defendant had already been convicted, but denied a new trial on the other convictions. At the second trial, the defendant was convicted of second-degree murder as well as discharging the firearm during an act of violence, but was acquitted on the charge of conspiracy to commit murder. The defendant took an appeal to the state Supreme Court. After reviewing the evidence, the Supreme Court ruled that the trial justice did not commit error and did not place the defendant in double jeopardy when permitting a new trial on the same issue for which the defendant had been convicted in the prior trial. If you'd like to discuss legal matters with me, please call my office for an appointment. My name is Bob Lauder. My telephone number is 762-4550. And the disclaimer, the Supreme Court of Rhode Island licenses all attorneys in the general practice of law. The court does not license or certify any attorney as an expert or specialist in any field of practice. Thank you.
All right there, Bob, and thank you very much. We had a note that was called in, 766-1240, on a completely different topic.
Great.
Okay. I don't know if you're going to say great. I haven't read it to you, Bob.
Uh-oh.
So we'll
This
go
is
to
going
Bob
to talk
first.
about whether or not there's sound in movies?
No.
Oh, good.
Bob, any parting remarks on the Boston Red Sox being officially eliminated from the playoffs yesterday? Ooh, they're in the
Wait,
headlights.
Bob,
Wait,
hold on. I'll
yes.
speak for you.
Oh, good. Thank you. Yes.
What?
That's even better.
I got the great Bob Lauder impersonation. All right. Well, yes, they were mathematically eliminated from the playoffs last night. It was so. I don't know if you saw it, Sue, but it was so
I didn't.
confusing. There's only 4 games left in the season.
Right.
Now there's 3.
Okay.
That's the last night. There were only 4 games left, and for them to make it to the playoffs, they had to win their next 4 games. Another team had to lose 1 game. Another team had to lose 2 games, and a third team, and I can't remember the teams, had to lose 3 games.
Wow.
I mean, and someone figured out it was a 0.6% chance of this happening.
Right.
So it was a real stretch, and then of course they went out and lost last night. So therefore, bang, they're done.
So there goes all that math.
That's right. It's all out the window. So they have 3 games left, and then just because. So I'm not surprised. Just the way the season went on,
and sometimes they were very just inconsistent. And sometimes the hitting was good and the pitching was lousy. Sometimes the pitching was good and the hitting was lousy. Sometimes the pitching and the hitting were okay, but the relief pitching was lousy. And it's like they just couldn't get it all. And sometimes they looked brilliant. And they'd string together 4 or 5 games. And, okay, here's the charge. Here we go. Because at the All-Star break, they were only 5 games out of first place,
Okay.
which is good.
All right, that sounds like a big change in a short period of time.
It is.
Ooh, that was good, Bob.
Yeah, but we have
was trying to-
we have the whole second half of the season. We have another 80 games basically to make up 5 games. So this is certainly doable. We can even come in first place. And after the All-Star break, they tripped right out of the gate and fell flat. And then, all right, we're not going to make it.
Do you think it's players who are not able to keep up the momentum, or is it bad coaching, or just bad luck, or
It's not bad luck. It's just the majority of the problem was relief pitching, I think. Just it wasn't very good. And every time they brought in someone in either the third or fourth or fifth or inning, they'd come in and they'd give up all the runs. The starting pitching was okay. Could
so they
always
should
better, but
they should be trying to recruit more pitchers then?
that's every team though. Every team always wants better pitching.
Okay.
So it's tough to go out and find it, and you never know who's going to be good. You never know who's going to get hurt during the season. We could have the best pitcher in the game.
Now you have a
They
salary
go out
cap.
and they break their arm and they're done for the season. Now what do you do?
You have a salary cap, right?
Every team does, yes.
And most of the pitchers who are on teams have contracts that probably say we're committed to you for a particular period of time, like at least a year.
a little longer, but okay.
Okay, where would a team like the Boston Red Sox be able to recruit a substitute pitcher that's going to be a worthy player?
You look at the other teams,
But how do you get it from another team if they all have
well,
contracts?
but some of them don't. Some of them become what's called free agents,
All right.
and they're free to sign. That's where the word "free" comes from. They're free to sign with anybody. So I could go after Sue and say, Sue, I want you to come play for my team. I'm going to give you a 3-year contract worth $27 million.
But if Sue is a free agent on
Yeah.
another team,
Yeah.
isn't she at least committed to a period of time with that team?
No, the season has ended. She can now go. She can
But-
accept
but we're-
offers from any other team.
We're still in season, so
I know. So this is in 3 days. This can happen.
all right. But in the 80 games that were leading up to now, when the
Yeah.
Red Sox saw that their
Okay.
team was not doing well,
Then you can try to trade.
all right, but that must be rather difficult because if you're trading
Sure.
X player who is not performing well and trying to get Y player who is performing well, why does the team that Y player is committed to want to release him to get X player who isn't very good?
Well, maybe they think that their team isn't going anywhere. They're not going to make the playoffs either. But yeah, but Sue's the real bright spot pitcher in the team. So I'm going to offer them prospects. I got a couple of guys down in the minor leagues. They look really promising.
Okay.
So I'm going to send you 3 guys. You send me 1.
All right.
Now maybe they do it, maybe they don't, and maybe it works out for everybody, and sometimes it doesn't. You just never know. Players from the minor leagues, they get up to the major league level and they don't perform. Others are superstars. It's a gamble,
Okay.
and it comes down to money as well. And then Sue's team may say, no, we're keeping Sue because we're building the whole team around her.
We have
for
faith in
for-
Sue that she's
for
going
next
to
year.
get better.
That's right. She's already our best. We're gonna surround her with better players, and we're gonna be the better team next year.
I'm
So,
glad you
no,
picked Sue.
We're not trading her. Well,
Sue is the best.
Well, I've seen you pitch, Bob, and it's
It's pretty pathetic.
no, it's not good. So there you go.
What are you going to say about the Patriots, though? They're the last few games.
We're so early in the season.
Yeah.
We're only 3 weeks in.
Right.
We're 1-2. We're playing another team this Sunday. That's also 1-2. So okay.
Who's the team this Sunday?
San Francisco.
All right.
Going to play out in San Francisco near San Francisco. So we'll see what happens after this game. If we go to 500, okay, things are all right. If we go to drop to 1-3, it's time to reevaluate what's going on. So I have faith that the coaches will come up with a better game plan than what they've done the last 2 weeks and see what they can do. You can't.
Somebody
can't,
who is a real
I can't-
Patriots fan.
I can't
He's-
throw the towel in on the team just yet. It's too early in the season.
Okay.
When you look at it, I mean, how many other teams are at 1-2? At least another 7 or 8. So
Okay.
a few of us are all in the same boat. So
Okay.
we'll be okay. I hope we'll be okay.
An optimistic guy.
Trying to be. So here's something you shouldn't try to do. People do try to do it, but not a good thing. Up in Massachusetts, 2 brothers from Brockton, they've been charged with stealing nearly $200,000 from the West Roxbury Credit Union. And this isn't going in and say, stick them up,
Right.
give me your money. One of them worked at the Energy Credit Union, a West Roxbury Credit Union. I should have said it differently. A credit union in West Roxbury. There we go. Okay. So one of them worked at the Energy Credit Union as a teller, and he staged a robbery with his other brother. And rather than follow bank protocol and give the robber money from his drawer, Janelle Flanori allegedly went to the vault and got over $197,000. Bail has been set at $10,000 for both, who were charged with larceny and conspiracy.
I'm surprised that the bank had that much currency available.
Yes,
because
that's a lot.
I've had experiences where we've wanted to have large sums of money in currency released by a bank, and we have to notify them in advance, so they'll have it brought up from the.
Well, this gentleman working here, and maybe that's the case, and he knows, I don't know, let's say on Thursdays,
X day at X time.
we're going to have $200,000 coming in because it's going to go out to other people.
Right.
So he knew there was going to be a large sum on that day, and that's, crime of opportunity. We got to hit now because that's when the money's going to be in, or it's coming in late Wednesday night for distribution the next day. So we got to do this staged robbery.
Now they must have had
Now.
a very close familiar relationship, because if my
Well, they're
brother had
brothers,
come into the bank with a gun, pointed it at me, asked for a whole lot of money, received it over the counter, and then knew it was just he and I'm not sure that my brother would have been so generous as to not pull the trigger and have me going out on a
Have it take it for himself.
and take it all for himself.
That's the problem when you start doing business with gangsters.
Oh, no, with family.
Right.
Gangsters are probably more
family.
honorable. Family,
Maybe.
it gets a little weird.
All right. So that's what happened there. Back here in our area, we had that. We had the story yesterday where the man was hit by a car over at Highland Park, and where 99 and Mendon Road all meet right there.
Right,
He was
yeah.
trying to cross the road, the Highland into the Highland Pike, and he was hit by a truck. Actually,
Oh, geez.
he passed away
Yeah, no.
from his injuries. They got him to Rhode Island Hospital.
Was it my understanding was somebody said it was a red Nissan.
I thought it was a truck.
I drove by. I did not see a truck because I was there. I was on 99, and a fire truck passed me. And as I got to the end of 99, where the light was green, a rescue was coming down from Cumberland.
Did they apprehend the driver of the vehicle that struck him?
Let's see. Died from his injuries. Joseph Arribas was in a crosswalk on Highland Corporate Drive around 2:45. He was hit by a car coming from Mendon Road. Driver remained at the scene, so it's not. I'm wrong. Not a truck. Driver remained at the scene and was cooperating with police. The crash remains under investigation. No word yet on whether or not the driver's been arrested.
Wow. That's tragic.
Yep. So initially I thought the car was coming. The vehicle was coming from 99.
That was the impression that I was given, because based on where I saw,
Yeah. But now they're saying he
it
was
was
coming off Mendon Road.
being on Mendon Road and crossing
That would make more sense because if you're
Highland to the other side of, but still on Mendon Road.
but if you're coming from 99, you should be able to see if someone's in the crosswalk. They're right in front of you.
Right, but
But if you're coming from Mendon Road, I guess it's a blind spot, and you quickly take that right, and bang, someone could be there in the crossroads. So, but they did stay. They didn't make a run for it. So that's
All
good.
right.
All right, we're gonna take a break here in the Coffee and program. So it's time for your second message from the law office of Bob Lauder.
Good morning. The second case I'd like to talk with you about this morning involves an unusual medical malpractice case. It's known as Blonin versus Koster, and it was decided in August of this year. The plaintiffs were the parents of a child born with a cystic fibrosis, a life-shortening genetic disorder that causes severe damage to the lungs and digestive system. The parents were very distressed, and they sued various doctors, alleging that the doctors did not at any time offer them genetic screening or counseling related to the risks or consequences that could arise from parents genetically passing a hereditary condition on to their unborn children. After a decision in the Superior Court finding in favor of the physicians, the parents filed an appeal to the state Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled that in a lawsuit based on negligence, the plaintiffs have to prove 4 elements. 1, that there is a legally cognizable duty owed by the defendant to the plaintiff. 2, the defendant breached that duty. 3, the breach approximately caused injury to the plaintiff. And 4, actual damages or injury were inflicted on the plaintiff. The court went on to rule that when evaluating the evidence, there are 5 additional factors to be considered. 1, the foreseeability of the harm to the plaintiff. 2, the degree of certainty that the plaintiff suffered damages. 3, the closeness of the connection between the defendant's conduct and the injury suffered. 4, the policy of preventing future harm. And 5, the extent of the burden on the defendant and the consequences to the community for imposing a duty to exercise care with resulting liability for the breach. After writing that there were very few cases of this nature upon which to seek precedent, the court ruled that there was no allegation by the plaintiff that the delayed diagnosis caused any greater harm to the child than if the genetic configuration had been diagnosed earlier. And the court said it could not conclude that they imposed a duty upon the doctors to have timely diagnosed the genetic issue so that the parents could have made an informed decision about their own reproductive health care. The doctors said owed no duty to the plaintiffs for their wrongful conception claims nor for the medical issues suffered by the child. If you'd like to discuss legal matters with me, please call my office for an appointment. My name is Bob Lauder. My telephone number is 762-4550. And the disclaimer: the Supreme Court of Rhode Island licenses all attorneys in the general practice of law. The court does not license or certify any attorney as an expert or specialist in any field of practice. Thank you.
All right, Bob, thanks. And the Coffee and program will continue. Please stick around.
Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse offers authentic homemade Polish food to make your next meal special. Try our many varieties of hot and fresh pierogies with onions and what they call dirty sour cream. Or pick up gołąbki, kielbasa, babkas, or some fresh rye bread. We also offer a large selection of specialty and imported foods. Open Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, 9 in the morning till 6 p.m., Wednesdays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays from 8 to 5 p.m. It's Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse. Follow us on Facebook and learn about our weekly specials. Located at 855 Social Street, Woonsocket, Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse has all the authentic Polish foods you love.
Celebrate St. James, CYO, and Youth Ministry in Manville, Rhode Island. In honor of the parish's 150th anniversary, a CYO and Youth Ministry open house reunion will be held on Sunday, October 27th from 1 to 4 p.m. in the parish gym. Reconnect with friends and relive your favorite memories from sports, dances, plays, singing in the choir, and more. For more information, visit stjamesmanville.org. That's SAINT, jamesmanville.org. Don't miss out. Spread the word and celebrate with us.
All right, it is Coffee In on ON Radio. We're just discussing Bob's case here. That was it. I was talking about. And Sue and I, we're right.
Absolutely.
You are, except for politics, you're always right.
Speaking of politics, Bob.
No.
You'll like this.
Yeah.
A Haitian nonprofit organization is seeking criminal charges against former President Donald Trump and his running mate, J.D. Vance, out there in Springfield, Ohio. The lawsuit was filed after both Trump and Vance made claims about Haitian immigrants eating pets in the city. Okay?
Okay.
The co-founder of the organization, Haitian Bridge Alliance, says Trump and Vance have, quote, led an effort to vilify and threaten the Haitian community in Springfield, unquote. They want them charged with disrupting public services, making false alarms, complicity, telecommunications harassment, and aggravated menacing.
Okay, they were asking the prosecutors to come up with these charges.
Yes.
They're not bringing these charges themselves in any kind of criminal prosecution. And it's going to be up to the Attorney General, probably for the state of Ohio, to decide whether or not they feel that these allegations are worthy of an actual going before a grand jury and trying to get an indictment, something along those lines. I
It's
would
gotta be
think
tough,
that.
huh?
Oh yeah, I would think that is. It's good for publicity. It's good for newspapers.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's necessarily going to result in any kind of actual prosecution of the former president nor of Senator Vance.
All right. What is aggravated menacing?
I don't know.
That's a new one.
I-
You can be menacing, but am I
And
shaking?
now you're an aggravated.
Am I if I'm shaking a stick at you, like I might use it? Does that make it aggravated menacing?
If the guy on the bike path had been carrying a big stick, maybe
Yeah.
that would have made it
More
menacing.
menacing. Well, maybe
Aggravated.
Okay. That makes it aggravated. Okay. Here's another fun story. This one's out of Madison, Wisconsin. Seems a woman out there broke into another woman's house and made herself a shrimp and pasta dinner.
Whoa!
Say that again.
She
I'm
broke
sorry.
it. She broke into the house and made herself some shrimp and pasta. Got out the pots and pans and
Oh, for the love
Did she
of God.
invite the homeowner into? Eat the
no.
feast?
The homeowner called police saying she was startled seeing someone walking around inside her house. And,
Okay.
Aggravated menacing.
oh,
It's a thing.
if the victim of the offense is an officer or an employee of a public children's services agency or a private child placing agency, and the offense relates to the officers or employees in performance or anticipated performance of official responsibilities or duties, aggravated menacing is a felony of the 5th degree. That's pretty far down.
Right?
All right.
Sue should have been in law school.
So anyway, this woman finds this other woman in her house out there in Wisconsin. She calls the police. The suspect, and I love this, when the police arrive at the door and knock, the suspect answers the door. It's not the woman that owns the house.
So the woman that owns the house, how did she see him? Was it on her? You know, how the Ring cameras can grab.
Maybe she was just outside and looking through the windows.
Okay.
And she sees that there's someone walking around inside my house.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on. I better call the police. So the police show up. They knock on the door. And the woman, identified as Joanna Lee, answers the door when the officers knocked and claimed to have permission. And she claimed to have permission to be in the house. And then they call the homeowner over. Does she have permission to be in the house? I've never seen her before. So
Don't know who this person is.
Lee is now in jail facing a burglary charge, and no word on how good the pasta and shrimp dinner was.
You know, if anybody had broken into my house
And made a
before I
meal?
was married, they wouldn't be making shrimp fettuccine. They'd end up with Chef Boyardee in a can that was probably outdated. I didn't have that kind of stuff hanging around the
Right.
house to.
Well, maybe she knew it was a woman's house and didn't know they'd have more than just canned spaghetti in the cupboard, Bob.
I remember when I was courting Jean, I had two specific dinners that I could make. It was trying to impress her that I knew what I was doing.
Okay.
Those are the only two things I can make now, and I'd still have to follow the instructions because I don't know that off the top of my head.
So what are they?
One was a dinner that included hollowing out an orange and filling it with a peach mousse and then serving it that way.
So you put the peach mousse in the rind?
Inside the orange rind. You'd open it up and there'd be the
right.
peach mousse inside.
That's not dinner.
That was
dessert.
one. No, that was the dessert. That was one of the side things that went along with the dinner.
Oh, okay.
And then the dinner itself was one of them was a salt steak that you encrusted the bottom of the pan with a thick layer of salt, and then you cooked the steak on top of it, and the juices from the steak were absorbed in the salt. I realized that you could do that one way and make it really neat, and one way that was positively disgusting. You had a choice as to how it went.
That sounds
And,
terribly unhealthy now.
This was a long time ago.
Anything you
man.
put down a layer of salt first and put the meat on the salt. So.
I was
I know,
lucky that
right?
the first time I made it for Jean, it worked out okay.
Well, okay,
And when I
good.
tried it again afterwards,
No good?
no.
She doesn't let you cook anymore, does she?
No, thank goodness.
I was approached, Bob, at Stop and Shop because I was at the fish counter,
Right.
getting a piece of Alaska cod fillet. Mm-hmm. Some gentleman older than me comes up to me, not to the person behind. He He goes, I see you're getting the cod fillet. How do you prepare it?
Okay,
I said,
good.
really? And I said, okay. And I go, it's really rather simple. It's just one piece here. I said, turn the oven on, preheat your oven to 400. You put it in a casserole dish. I always put down aluminum foil and spray it so it doesn't stick. Lay it on that. I sprinkle it with a little Laurie's seasoned salt. Give it a little flavor. Put it in for half an hour. You're done. It's the easiest thing in the world to make.
You had a good
There
answer.
you go. It was simple. It was incredibly simple.
My answer would have been, here's my wife's phone number. She'll let you know.
There's my wife over there. Go ask her.
Yeah, right.
Well, try that with the fish. I mean, you don't put the layer of salt on first. You just sprinkle the salt on top of the fish before you put it in the oven, okay? Half an hour later, it's all set and done and ready to go.
Good.
There you go. All right, that does it for the show for today. Thank you very much for listening in. As always, Bob Liner, thanks for coming in this week.
Thank you for inviting me. Hope to be with you next week.
All right, and Sue Chester McKenzie, thanks for coming in.
Have a wonderful rest of the week.
All right, my name's Joe Callahan. Enjoy the day. Watch out for the showers this afternoon. And keep an eye on that hurricane down there in Florida. It's going to be craziness down there. And stay tuned for Gary Smith and the crew. Do You Remember's next at 9:30 on ON Radio.
Broadcasting live and local daily from the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street. This is WOON Woonsocket Radio. And now, the news. Rhode Island is experiencing an uptick in home